Let's bring Michael Oren. He was Israel's ambassador to the United States from 2009 to 2013. He's also a former member of the Knesset, Israel's House of Representatives. Ambassador Oren, it's hard to convey, it's hard to believe how the numbers changed overnight. When I ended this broadcast 24 hours ago, it was thought that there were about 200 people dead. Now that number has gone up to 700, and I suppose it could go even higher. How do you react to what's happened?
Good evening, John. It is excruciating for Israel. It's probably, in terms of human lives, the costliest day in Israel's history, deadlier than the first day of the Yom Kippur War in 1973, perhaps even our 1948 War of Independence. And the fact that Hamas terrorists have penetrated our territory, attacked our farms, attacked our neighborhoods, attacked our schools and communities is truly unbearable for Israelis. It's a deep, deep shock for this country. We will rebound. We have no choice but to rebound. We will drive these terrorists from our territory. Hopefully we'll drive Hamas out of Gaza Strip entirely and restore both our security and our deterrence power.
What about the hostages? Is there any official number yet on how many people might have been taken hostage?
It varies between 100 and 130, and certainly this will be a major consideration as we move into the next phases of this operation. I expect it to be some type of ground operation. The Israeli people expect that. We've gone through 5 different rounds of fighting with Hamas. Each time has restored the status quo ante, and Israeli public opinion has increasingly expressed dissatisfaction with this outcome. We want a change in that status quo. This attack by Hamas has been so unprecedented in its barbarism and its scope that there's just no way Israel will allow any government to restore that status quo ante. And certainly that government, in deciding how and when to move ground troops into Gaza, will have to think about the fate of those hostages in the hands of Hamas.
Those are going to be some difficult decisions in the days and weeks ahead. I know that you want to destroy Hamas, but how do you do that short of, going into Gaza where 15 million people live and destroying every male person of fighting age?
I don't think it's that quite drastic. About 2 million people there, and we're going to have to be very, very cautious. The military has, in previous engagements, been very, very cautious in attacking and in responding to Hamas terror from Gaza, giving warnings to civilians to leave neighborhoods, what's called knock-knock. We send a non-explosive device into the roofs of houses to let people know that there's going to be an attack. We send hundreds of thousands of emails and other social media messages and leaflets to get civilians to leave areas of combat. Invariably, tragically, civilians are hurt. We certainly regret this, but Hamas uses these civilians as human shields, and we really have no choice. They'll now be using Israelis as human shields as well. This is the nature of the truly barbarous enemy in which we face. And I must say, John, that they are terrorists. They are not militants. The New York Times may call them militants, and MSNBC would call them militants, but don't call them militants. They are terrorists, and they're defined as terrorists by the U.S. government, by many governments in Europe. Militants don't take 250 kids out of a music concert, take them out and shoot them.
You mentioned the United States, and obviously President Biden has offered whatever assistance the U.S. can provide. Carrier Strike Group is going to be heading to the Mediterranean to be a show of force offshore. What else can or should the United States do? What would you like to see?
I'd like to see not just movements of American naval forces in the Eastern Mediterranean, but also movements of American forces in the Persian Gulf. We all know that Iran played a cardinal role in this attack. We know that Iran fears the pending peace agreement between Saudi Arabia and Israel. They fear the nuclearization of Saudi Arabia. By the way, they feel the return of Donald Trump to the presidency. And they have lots of fears, but they also see opportunities. They see weakness in Israel. We've had internal divisions over judicial reform. They see an unwillingness on the part of the United States to engage in further entanglements in the Middle East. So the Iranians acting both out of fear and a sense of opportunity, have worked to create instability in the Middle East. It was so easy to back Hamas and have this happen. So the United States has to not just show a naval force opposite Hezbollah, which is a proxy of Iran, but actually demonstrate naval force opposite the operator, the boss of Iran, of Hezbollah, which is Iran. Iran. And that's where the demonstration should be made.
You say Iran's fingerprints are all over this. The Wall Street Journal reporting the same thing. Do you see a direct kinetic action against Iran from Israel as a result?
I would not rule it out.
That would be a headline. Ambassador Michael
I
Oren.
would not rule it out. Nor, by the way, I'm not a spokesman for the government. I'm not in office and all, but I've long been an advocate of not striking at the tail of the snake, but striking at the head of the snake. And for many, many years, Israel has been the target of Iranian proxies. We've struck back at those proxies, paying a very high price, both diplomatically and financially, every possible way. And Iran gets off scot-free. I think it's high time that Iran no longer gets off scot-free.
Ambassador Michael Oren, formerly the Israeli ambassador to the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
We'll be right back.